Free Cheese, episode 430. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Marco Kosteniak.
What's up?
Matt Zellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. We've got a great show planned for you today. Of course, we're checking in with Game of the Year here in just a few minutes. We're going to travel back in time by 10 years. Talk more about that Halo and more. But first, last week, I made a wish during our Game of the Year segment that 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim would release on the Nintendo Switch for more people to play. And just hours after recording, Atlas announced exactly that. So this week, Mark, what game do you wish would get a port to Switch?
Ooh, I guess the Zero Escape games.
Yeah, them Danganronpas just came out, so why not complete the murder?
Yeah, and yeah,
party.
Because, actually, you know what? Let's continue this Vanillaware train. Like,
yeah, baby,
bring them everywhere. You know, Muramasa needs to get off of Wii and PlayStation Vita. Yeah, like
yeah.
I mean, thankfully I have a PlayStation TV and I can play it that way, but like all those other games though, like Odin Sphere and I can't think of the other one.
I think like some of them have ended up on PS4 either via the PS2 stuff they've ported or I think like an HD or FIDE whatever. But yeah, no, there's a lot of that stuff's just trapped. Muramasa especially. I think about Muramasa a lot and I play it on Vita, but like, yeah, that needs to come to modern platforms. It's just got to. Matt, what video game do you wish would get a port to the Nintendo Switch?
Can't think of a better game, so I'm going to say Magic the Gathering Arena.
Oh.
I mean, that makes sense, actually.
It does. Anything with a touch screen should
think,
just have that.
I don't know. I don't have the newest of new iPad Pros, but my iPad Pro struggles to run that game. It's like choppy animations. Granted, I'm used to playing on PC, so that might be part of it, but it feels not great. I wonder if the Switch has a little bit more horsepower to like help.
I would assume your iPad Pro probably has more horsepower. I wonder if it's just not optimized correctly.
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know, but sometimes I wish I kind of had some directional buttons to sort through some of those cards, especially on that smaller screen, because you have to tap and then you have to vary.
Yeah.
So I think that would help a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now, I'm sure there's other features you could do, like near field communication things you could do if you were at a party instead of having all the cards. You just kind of like.
Good point.
You're bored.
Yeah, not bad. Little rooftop magic session. Or, speaking of NFC, you could always tap an amiibo, unlock an exclusive Magic the Gathering card sleeve set based on Tom Nook.
Or, look, you could also, I said I struggle sometimes with the touchscreen and picking the right card. Maybe you could do the Joy-Con and use those marbles that are in a jar and carefully twist, and the amount of marbles you feel in the controller, that's what card you're at from left to right.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Or you could, because there's that D&D set in Magic, you could roll the D20 with it.
Pretty good.
Speaking of Joy-Con, we're going to talk about the game that defined the Joy-Con. Not really, but we're going to talk about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in this week's Game of the Year segment. As we near the end of this segment throughout this here year 2021, we reach a game that was not actually on our top 5 that year, but I think in the time since, Breath of the Wild should be ranked, and Breath of the Wild is one step of the way to getting us to a clean 30 on our Game of the Year list. So we've got Breath of the Wild today. We have one more next week, and that'll wrap up Game of the Year. But today, let's talk about Breath of the Wild.
Where to begin?
Let's begin
what haven't I already said?
You know what? I say let's begin with why it was not on our list in 2017.
Hi, my name's Mark.
I was gonna say I was not friendly to that game either.
So what held it back? Do you think at the time?
My tunnel vision and comparing it to things that I liked from other games instead of just looking at it objectively.
I think that it's funny because I don't know. I had revelations around that year, around playing Nier, I think also, that I wanted to start looking at games for what they were rather than what they were not.
Mm-hmm.
And I swung too far in that direction, I think, at some point in the last few years on this podcast, where I kind of overlooked flaws and overlooked things that were not great in favor of looking at what things were rather than what they were not. But I think that Breath of the Wild was another one where, like, I just got lost in it. Because Breath of the Wild and Nier are very, like, interwoven for me. They came out around the same time, but they both, like, kind of opened up my mind to just something new and getting lost in something. Because both of those, I didn't look anything up while I was playing and just kind of let myself get lost. But I think there's something totally to that where they helped me to get there. You know what I mean? But I agree with you. Like I didn't do it with Zelda, but that feeling of just like, you know, everything this game is not. Like I did that with Lords of Shadow 2, and you know, later when I would approach that game with a different mindset, it opened it up. Matt, why don't you think it made it to the top 5?
I think there are a couple things. One, I was trying to cross-reference date. I think I got it on June 30th, 2017. I think that game pissed me off more than playing it originally when it released a step tracker for $20.
Mm-hmm.
I also think core gameplay wise, I think that game was boring in parts. Yeah, it was an open world. Yeah, you go wherever, but from my experience, like 80% of that was just like running through grass with nothing around, which was kind of my problem modern day wise in Final Fantasy 15. Everything kind of felt the same. Now, granted, like there's different things in Breath of the Wild that it did better than Final Fantasy 15, but I kind of similar feelings kind of coming back around in 2021. But and the combat, I never thought the combat was great. It was good. It wasn't great. But now as time has gone along, I think I've played things far that do combat in a similar type of way far better. So yeah, but even then, I thought it was okay. I thought open world was dry in most parts. I think the gameplay loop of the shrines and shrine and shrine and shrine, and then your story beat when you got to like one of the temples, or not what do they call it in this game? Something with an animal. Anyway,
the Grand Divine Beast.
That's it. Yeah, like revolving them, unlocking them, getting into them. Yeah, there was some story elements there and whatever, but that game just did not click with me.
It's funny, like I remember going through it and like not loving Divine Beasts, the whole like there ain't no dungeons in this game definitely was like, yeah, this is a different thing. And I did look past it, but then after it, like looking back and then looking forward at what I want in a sequel to the game, I'm like, all right, well, you did all these things right, but you got to go back and bring all this other Zelda stuff in now. So I'm hoping it seems, we can infer from some trailers that might be the direction we're heading. But Mark, is there anything else significant about Breath of the Wild that you felt held it back from?
I mean, I think I'd be more so just echoing your guys' statements, but to give like the, I guess, pseudo cliff notes of how I was originally with this, like I was thinking, Zelda kind of had a way of doing things. It kept some traditions, probably since Ocarina of Time more than anything. With each iteration, how it would handle like traversing and combat for the most part, boss fights, whatnot. Some of it was good, some of it not. And when Breath of the Wild came along, it was like it sacrificed a lot of those things in order to bring back its like core root of what those games, I guess, should be, or what made them so fantastic in the first place, especially the very first one on NES. All about that exploring and just walking through this world and just kind of going about it your own way. And that's, I think now, like, I really appreciate that. But at the time, I still did enjoy that. But yeah, like, I really loved the combat out of the Zelda games, and I loved how the swordplay kind of got a little more advanced with each game, more or less, depending with like the Z targeting, moving around. Each way of the stick would, control the sword going in that way, or what have you. But Toy Princess, you learn new techniques. Like, I thought that was really cool. And I thought that would carry over, and it didn't. So instead, like, each weapon had its own little simple combo, and then the constant breaking of the weapons, I think, annoyed a lot of people too. So, like, that was another thing that all that was just like eating at me while trying to enjoy it. And I think I just focused more on what I wanted versus just what it is. And that just kind of hindered my view of the whole thing at first. Then as time went along, I got to actually see it for what it has to offer and what it can do. And the way, like, the system of that game. I mean, the stuff I just can't do possibly. But yeah, that was a big part that held it back for me.
I want to come back to how it's changed, but yeah, Matt.
One thing about the weapon system, I can't remember. I just don't remember the weapons broke too quickly or not. But was there a item or a person or like a shop that you go to repair the weapon?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Like,
I don't. Yeah,
I think like I don't know if the Hylian shield specifically had something that could be.
Once you built up Terrytown, is that what it was? The thing where you could do like that whole side quest to build up a little town. Once you go there, you could buy the Hylian shield again. But yeah, generally it was they broke. The Master Sword was the only thing that didn't break, but that still ran out of energy unless you did the Trials of the Sword stuff that was in the DLC.
Yeah, that it's like cool, but completely unnecessary at the same time.
The small addition on top of the foot tracker.
I think the Trials were very cool, but my problem with the Trials is I would get so far and then just die to something dumb or my own mistake or whatever, but it would deflate you enough, and you could only retry it so many times before you're like, what am I doing? And it happened where, like, I got through the first two, but the third trial, which is like another 10 or 8 levels or something, I just could not get past the final bit of it. And every time I would deflate, walk away, like a year would go by, and I'm like, I should go do that. And you jump back in, and you're totally rusty, and you're not there at all. But I think they were generally a cool idea. And I know it stinks to, like, lock the full potential of the Master Sword behind that, but it is kind of a neat, like, story beat, I think. But so since 2017, I keep wanting to say 2016, but yeah, since 2017, how has your opinion of this game changed for the better? Like,
yeah, like kind of what I was going off of. I think I really do appreciate what this does have to offer. Like, if you try to go into it without any prior Zelda experience or knowledge, I think I think this is a pretty good package overall. Like, despite my like nitpicks that I had against it, I think this is a better one to jump into versus some of the other games. Like, I can't, like, as much as I would want to, I can never recommend Skyward Sword to anyone. Like what post Breath of the Wild, going back to that game is hard. Like, I didn't realize like how good I actually had it until I went back to that one. And like, I think Skyward was the first one to kind of introduce, like the stamina bar, what have you. And yeah, it just Breath of the Wild just handled that so much better. So yeah, I do appreciate that. Like, they did kind of break a lot of those molds that they were known for. More so for better than for worse, probably. But yeah, just appreciating how you can just utilize the mechanics of that game and like its own system of like doing insane combos with weapons or messing with the physics in ways that you wouldn't think would work otherwise, or glitches you could even apply, there's a lot of that there where I love how you can just get lost in it so easily, if you choose to. And how quick you can beat it. I think that's also a good feature.
Yeah. I think Matt might lean into that a little bit too. But yeah, I don't know, playing the original The Legend of Zelda, and then thinking about Breath of the Wild again, like the sense of exploration they kind of brought back. Like the open world stuff, yes, we've had, by the time Breath of the Wild came out, we had more than a decade of open world games that did stuff similar to that and whatever. And I think Breath of the Wild did do some things very cool that pushed open world stuff forward. But there is that sense of like, let myself get lost. And I know that, Matt, you talked about like the wandering through the grass field and it all looks the same. And there is that. I don't want to say that there's not, or completely counter that, but I did love just wandering en route to an objective. Like, I know I've got to get from here to there. And then all of a sudden you just see something happening to your right and you're like, well, what is that? I'm going to go see what that's all about. And there's a lot of like emergent gameplay that happened because of just the way they built that world and the way they stitched things together and dropped little moments in there. And there's still stuff where like with the physics, where you just see like these surprises or things you had no idea were even possible or hidden in the game. Matt, how has it gotten better in your mind since 2017, or how has your view lifted on it at all?
It's tough to say my view has lifted, because if it has, not because I've gone back to it, right? It's just kind of looking back in hindsight and comparing it to what I've seen kind of unfold since 2017. And I think the one area I've come to appreciate with this game is its freedom. It kind of goes against what I said earlier about it being too open and stuff, but like, I just think there's a lot of missed opportunity. I mean, hell, my prediction that's going to be wrong, I think, for this year was Breath of the Wild 2 was going to win our Game of the Year because it's going to come out this year. I think this game and its mechanics can be fantastic. I just think they miss some opportunities. But like the freedom of how to approach a situation, a freedom of, there's a rock over there, as long as it's not raining, of course, you can climb it. That's something that I've seen more games take advantage of. That was one of my favorite mechanics of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is like an okay game, probably at best. But like just seeing some of those things start to come out in other games, and seeing some of the things that if Zelda had realized it back in 2017, I would have had a far better experience. And I would be remiss not to take any advantage to say its freedom allowed me to complete the game in how long and in what weaponry and fashion that I had. Like using all the gadgets, all the what are the tablet things? Using all of those to my advantage in that boss rush at the end, if you didn't complete all the rushes, to just chip away at damage and conserve my weapons for what ends up being a fight against Ganon. I like I said, its freedom is like its best thing going for it, but also is worth. I think at the same time is its worst thing, because not everything is fully realized. That I think I wanted to see in 2017. That I've seen some other games start to do now, and I hope, knock on wood, in February of 2022 we see a lot more fully realized in Elden Ring.
I thought you were going to say in February 2022 we'd find out in its sequel. It's like, are you making a...
No. Not yet, at least.
So this kind of goes against this segment is game of the year, and we're going to rank it in a moment. But just generally speaking, this is probably more directed at Mark. But do you think that this, after all this time, is a good Zelda game?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of the better ones to ever exist. I'd probably put it up in the top 5 for sure of Zelda games.
No, but
about our list,
because that was, I think, the harshest complaint on your end at the time when we did Game of the Year was just that it was not Zelda. And in so many ways, like, I totally agreed with you. You know what I mean? It did not feel like a Zelda game. It was an open world game with Zelda characters, but looking back at it again, like revisiting the original game and then applying that kind of mindset to this, and you see it differently.
Yeah,
like, I think it still works.
It's not the Zelda game that I wanted it to be, but I don't think there's no real solid definition of a Zelda game now besides I guess whatever. I don't know how to describe Zelda games now. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. They can be, there's like a couple things, right? We still had the Pigman, the princess, and the hero.
Like, Nintendo's really good at like building these foundations, and then other games take a lot of inspiration from those. Some just complete ripoff, others are just inspired. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said there.
So now we come to the inevitable ranking, and we find out if it's actually a good video game when compared to.
Turns out it doesn't go past PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Come on.
No, I'm kidding.
Got 28 spots on the list. Where do we think? I've been looking at this list and like up and down. I'm like, it could fit there. And then I look down. I'm like, I could fit there. I look higher. It could fit there.
I'll break the ice. I think it is tangent to Final Fantasy VII Remake in one direction or another.
Mark, what's your gut on that?
Above Doom.
Okay, you guys are higher than I was.
Or below.
Huh?
So or below. I'm around the Doom area.
Interesting. I was down by Yakuza Like a Dragon, which for the listeners is above 13 Sentinels, below Resident Evil 7. So you guys are thinking somewhere in the Doom, Resident Evil 2, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate territory.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do this.
Somewhere around there.
Let's say Smash Brothers. Is Breath of the Wild better than Super Smash Bros. Ultimate?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII Remake. Sorry, Mark. I didn't let you answer. I kind of like watched.
Well, this one I can't answer for. So.
I think this is the one where we could have a debate. I think in some elements, yes, it's better. I think in some elements, I think Final Fantasy VII's better. Yeah, that's.
I agree.
It's the thing I've been saying. I think this whole last however many weeks, right? Like, depending on what side of the bed I wake up on, I think what mood I'm in.
I agree. Right now I'm feeling like Breath of the Wild is a step up only because of I could jump into Breath of the Wild right now, pick up my save, and just get lost for hours. And if I really let myself get lost, I could end up swinging that into a whole week of let me play that. Where Final Fantasy VII Remake, I might replay it again, maybe, if it comes to Xbox someday. But I'm not like, let me jump in. You know what I mean? They're two different games, but I think I like Breath of the Wild more than I like Final Fantasy VII Remake.
But I think, alright, so this is where me and you differ. I think I'd rather restart my Final Fantasy VII playthrough because I know the combat's so good and I could do a whole different approach with new weaponry this time around that I know won't break.
Do you? All right, well, Mark was thinking somewhere around the Doom, so let's take a pause on the Final Fantasy VII debate. Do we think this is above Resident Evil 2?
Yeah.
You see, I think Resident Evil 2 did more for survival horror and rebooting that genre. I know PT kind of started that, but I think Resident Evil 2 is like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I would say that for 7.
Yeah, 7 got a lot of people's attention. 2 took that attention. 2 made sure people continued to pay attention, right? Like 7 said, "Hey, look over here. We're ripping off PT." I'm being reductive, but that kitchen demo at the beginning was kind of like, "Hey, look, we can do it too." But I think that, and then 2 said, "Hey, while we've got your attention, we also made these games back in the day that we're going to make again, and you're going to like them." And now they've kept my attention. You know what I mean? Where
I mean, 2. I mean, I can. No, you know what, Matt? Yeah, I do agree with that statement as well for 2. But
I also think that Breath of the Wild did a lot for open world. A lot, like. I think Assassin's Creed games since then.
It laid the groundwork. If it would have did it, this would be a different conversation. That's how I think.
Yeah, like for me, as far as like foundations go and like impact, I think Zelda to me makes a bigger impact than Resident Evil 2.
I think so too. I think that widespread. I think more people.
Which is why I put it above Doom, but under Half-Life. Because I think I don't know. I mean, man, it's tough. I don't know. It's just the vibes that I'm feeling from it.
I think I might be feeling it between RE2 and Final Fantasy VII Remake. What do you think of that?
That was my initial gut placement.
I mean, I think
I don't think it tops Doom.
How come?
Doom through to the end was just, I don't know, like Doom, another one where like it changed first person shooters for me. I hadn't really messed around in a first person shooter since 2010-ish, somewhere in there. Like here and there, you grab one, you know what I mean? Play this, play that, but like really hadn't touched one until Doom. And then playing that, it relit something, like a lot of things. Like that changed. Not that I constantly play first person shooters, but I'm like, that opened me back up to revisit the original Doom, to play Quake, to get into all that, to play Quake Champions, to listen to more metal. Like there's so many things that Doom did after playing that game. And I don't know, like there's still parts of me, granted, I played Tetris Effect this week for a while and I'm like wholly in love with the idea that it still sits at the top of this list. But there's days where I look at this list and I'm like, man, Doom's still the top. Like it feels right up there. But I'm not, I think this list looks right. Breath of the Wild.
I would personally now put it above Resident Evil 2, but I'm okay with it being between Resident Evil and Final Fantasy. I think that's just where it would just balance out between our choices.
I could also eke it above RE2, but I hear Matt's argument about.
I'll be fine with that. I mean, I'm just picking at straws here, trying to make it.
No. What do we think? Above RE2, or above or below it? What's gut reaction? What do you think?
Above. I say this. Here we go. RE2 does not end on a great note. At any time, I could end Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. And if you're being the Matt nitpicky of the detracting it from adding the thing after on that you gotta, the step tracker. RE2, you can't even see the whole game unless you play it twice. So what fun is that?
I mean, to be fair, playing it through twice is probably shorter than your average Breath of the Wild playthrough, but sure, we'll take that argument.
Not if you learn how to speed run.
I think Breath
of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild makes sense above it. All right, I'm locking it in. You good with that, Mark?
Yeah.
Whew. We're almost there. We got one more game next week. Stay tuned for the finale of Game of the Year. That'll be then. Today, we're going to go back in time. 10 years. A little more than 5. In fact, double the time. I ended up on a website called archive.org that you can go to as well and look at old captures of websites. And I was looking at stuff at the end of November. These two news stories that came up. So the first one is a story from Egan.com. It's IGN.com. And it's called The Rise of Great HD Remakes. And it's mostly an editorial piece. I thought it was interesting, though, that HD remakes were still novel. At the time, the author, Mitch Dyer, writes about Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Resident Evil 4 being played on Xbox 360, writes about Devil May Cry, Silent Hill, Zone of the Enders, and Jak and Daxter getting high-definition re-releases next year, meaning 2012 at that point. Final Fantasy X is getting a Vita port. All of these things that are coming along. Interview with Stuart Gilray, the CEO of Just Add Water, who had been... Just Add Water was the team brought in to bring all of the Oddworld games, HDify them and bring them out. And Stuart Gilray's comments say, we didn't want to do the thing a lot of people do with HD remakes where you make the PS2 or Xbox game run on the PS3 and then publish. We'd be screwing Oddworld and we'd be screwing ourselves if they had just brought HD, or if they had just brought Stranger's Wrath into the HD realm. Instead of just wasting effort on a port, they created new Easter eggs, excised old bugs, and added never-before-seen cinematics. They also remodeled the characters, replaced geometry that was weird, etc., etc. And this piece kind of turns into just kind of a breakdown. Like, they talk about the Stranger's Wrath port, they talk about Ready at Dawn, putting together the God of War collection, that pulled together the two PSP games into a PS3 HD version. It just top to Silent Hill, Devil May Cry, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition, Bionic Commando Rearmed, Metal Gear Solid HD Collection. All of these. I mean, it was only 10 years ago that a lot of these started happening. It's not the first time we saw re-releases, but it was kind of the first time that I think publishers really sought after them as a means to make more money. How is your... I guess... Matt, what was your opinion of HD remakes at the time back then?
I don't remember, to be completely honest. I think I don't want to say like I appreciated them, because I don't think I did, and it wasn't like I was buying them, because at that point I didn't have the disposable income I have today. I think there was some appreciation if there was added things like you just said. Like I know, for instance, like the Final Fantasy X release, the dual pack, and I think it was a HD remaster. I know for certain, like, that game added the international version of that game, which I think there was one other thing on top of this that was major, but like Dark Aeons were a thing in the international version to go back to as like very hard, difficult boss battles for your party. I always thought that was a cool thing to maybe go back and revisit if I ever play that game again. But like, in terms of how I felt, I maybe dig through a Facebook post I did 10 years ago, I don't know, to find an answer, because I could say, oh, I appreciate them, and here I probably was on Facebook bashing them or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think I was indifferent, to say, I think.
Mark, what was the first HD remake you remember buying?
Ooh. That's a very good question. You said Halo earlier, and I think it might have been that.
That anniversary edition?
Mm-hmm. I can't remember too many before that one.
Well, what drew you into that in particular, or the idea around that?
Just mostly the visuals, I think, more than anything. That was the first like key feature to like kind of rope me in, being able to toggle between classic and new. And yeah, I think that was just another reason to just kind of go back and play it and just kind of see like what liberties did they take, what creative choices did they decide to go with, and compare and contrast while just revisiting it. Just another reason to play it. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel a lot of HD, I don't know what to call them, remasters, or I guess not really remakes, right?
They all kind of vary, right? You know what I mean? Like, it could be a remaster, it could be a remake, it could just be a straight port.
Yeah, and like, I remember some of the controversies, not with any specific ones, but I remember how sometimes that'd be an issue because of like, maybe they put in a texture that didn't needed to be changed, or maybe a character used to look one way, now looks completely different. It's like, why did you go this far? Like, it wasn't broken. Why'd you try to fix it? I think Halo kind of had a little bit of that, but not enough to like make us think about. Or it was just like, all right, that's just decided what they wanted to do with.
And if you hated it, you could hit the back button and you were good.
Yeah, right. But not every game offered that, you know? Like, I think that was one of the few where you could actually do that. If not, probably the only, maybe. I don't know other games that had that feature.
Yeah.
Was it the first Halo that had the cutscenes redone? Who's that studio that they have?
Blur.
Is it Blur?
Yeah, Saber Interactive did the port, but Blur did. I think I don't know if Blur did the ones in 2011, but Blur did the ones in the Master Chief Collection Halo 2 anniversary.
And like, what was it? Resident Evil 4. I remember specifically people. Yes, you can play it on whatever platforms, and it's like HD, but like a lot of those textures ended up suffering because of it, and like the original versions actually look better in terms of like what they did with like the background designs for like when you're going through the menus and whatever textures they had for the guns and whatnot. So much now that like now there's like a mod or like a community working on mods to like actually make it look better than what the HD version does. So like that should kind of tell you something there.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of now, like looking at just the eShop, like this is not even, you know, all platforms, but the new releases for Nintendo Switch right now. Big Brain Academy, Brain versus Brain, that I completely forgot that I pre-ordered and it's sitting on my Switch unplayed. But then the Danganronpa games just got released. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Now, Danganronpa, those are just ports, right, at this point. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they're remakes, but if you look at it, they're kind of just, you know, taking the underlying game and putting HD assets over top of it. I know there's some other changes and being a little reductive there, but couple of original games, a new Shin Megami Tensei game came out apparently, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is a port, Mario Party Superstars, which is technically an HD remake of this, you know, the aforementioned Oddworld game. I just bought Oddworld Soulstorm on a whim because it came out this week on Xbox, and I did an impulse buy and grabbed it, even though I have no intention of playing it anytime soon because I'm playing through Munch's Odyssey right now instead. But like, that is another one where it started as let's remake Abe's Exodus from the PlayStation 1, and they ended up turning it into a different game entirely. I think the same kind of stories there, but like it's wholly new at this point. More so than New and Tasty was even a remake of Abe's Odyssey. So I think we see there's kind of a market for everything, right? Like, people can do a whole remake like a Final Fantasy VII, or in this case, the Oddworld Soulstorm, or they can just save as HD and put it back out. How do you feel about HD remakes now? 10 years ago, we were looking at them a certain way. They were new, they were novel, they were exciting. Yes, there were times where I think they made some missteps with either art or, it didn't feel right or whatever. I can think of some of those PS3 ports of things that were just like, man, this doesn't feel like it used to. But how do you feel now? I mean, I think to Matt's point, when a game adds a feature that was cut or a new feature, something like that, that makes it so it's more than just a shiny coat of assets, it makes it more exciting to play. But where do you guys sit now?
I think if it's something from like PlayStation 4, all right. So hold on. Maybe I don't know. So let's just say a game on PlayStation 4 as a PS5 owner, I could get my hands on. When that's getting an HD remaster, and you have to pay additional for it, a la a director's cut, I think that is where, like, why? But when it's something that's a little bit more out of reach, Xbox, you kind of have a little bit better luxury because of the backwards compatibility, but, like, getting stuff that you couldn't get before, like, on new platforms, like a Quake, I know Knights of the Old Republic is ported, but, like, getting Knights of the Old Republic on some newer platforms, I think is pretty cool. That's a really good game. Like, those the Blood Rain thing from earlier in the summer, like, one, I forgot all about that game, but two, like, now you can play it, if you do remember it. I just think, like, those types of things are good examples of it. If done right. I mean, obviously now we're at that stage where, 10 years ago, we probably didn't know what a good HD remaster was versus a bad one. Like, I think we're figuring that out, like, seeing, like, the Halo example, I think one of the best examples. Like, oh, you had all these extra features to go back in time if you really wanted to, versus, like, another thing that just did a bad art direction, just made you stick with that. I think now we're a little bit more aware of what a good HD remaster looks like versus a bad one. I think you're kind of seeing that right now with Grand Theft Auto's situation. So I think when bringing old games back and doing them right, I think it's acceptable. I'm happy it's there. But, like, when it's stuff like that, the director's cut stuff I've been seeing, granted they are adding some extra features, but when it's like that kind of stuff, that feels a little grimy. And it feels like a waste of resources, quite honestly.
Yeah, I agree. It's at this point, just port it. Make it run it at 120 or whatever the goal is to get whatever, and then put resources in the new content. I mean, I get it. You work on a project and there's cut content and there's stuff you didn't get to, so hey, this is the time to add that back in and whatever. But I agree. Mark, what do you think? How do you feel about remasters now?
It's definitely like a 50-50. I feel like a lot seem like they're just kind of phoned in for the most part, and it's just like, all right, we're cleaned up to play on this TV until 2 years from now, then you have to, like Matt was saying, kind of like update it again just to make it run a little sharper. But, like, those I don't really care about. Yeah, I think it makes more sense if it was a game that was designed for a totally different type of like TV, or and trying to somehow work that on newer stuff, and it still kind of captures that for the more or less. I think that's the best reason to do this type of thing. But in other ways, I always feel like the more options, the better. Like, if you can still capture the original essence of that game, the original game itself, you can basically port it if you wanted to. And yeah, kind of like a Halo thing, like you can switch between, because a lot of the new things kind of suffer. Final Fantasy 7 and 9, for example. Yes, you can play 7 on pretty much anything, but even though it can run at a smoother frame rate, I think in this case, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just preference, maybe it's nostalgia, but I think it looks better at 30 frames, and I think it looks better when you can't see the mouth on the chibi characters. Because now that's all you see, and I just don't think it looks that great. And for Final Fantasy IX, it suffers from the text in that game looks like it's all from just like a mobile port, and it doesn't have like the old like pixelated typeface going across everything. So I think stuff like that needs to be considered when making these HD things. Like yes, you can do it, but should you at the same time? I don't know. I think as long as if the old game can still be playable today, just make it accessible. That's what I'm mostly worried about. If you can have that run on a phone, have it run on whatever TV you're running, have it run on a computer, I think that's good. But as far as visual liberties go, I think that's the part where it gets kind of muddy, and there needs to be options there.
Yeah, we saw this with like movies when they started re-releasing movies way back when they would go back and, oh, well, we always intended this to be whatever and change this now and whatever. And like, it's cool, but you are taking away from the original piece of it. You know,
and screen size,
art.
You know, like everything was like 4:3. Now it's like 16:9. And
yeah,
that affects a lot of that too on how you view a game and play it.
Okay, I know this is a video game podcast, but like that is my conundrum with watching Blade Runner. Like, what fucking version am I gonna watch?
Yeah.
I don't even know what version is on HBO Max right now. Like, that is like every time I open up HBO Max, I see Blade Runner 2049. That's the name of it, right? 2049.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I want to watch it, but I feel like I should rewatch the first one because it's been a long time.
Just watch the first one.
But which one?
Just watch it.
There's like
just watch it. That's it. No, but that's the thing.
There's like
and
5
I think
versions.
that's what it. I know, but that's what it comes down to, right? Like, I think it's like, in certain aspects, like think about Super Mario Brothers, right? Rightfully a classic alongside Blade Runner. How do you play Super Mario Brothers? You know what I mean? Like, you can play it on Game Boy, you can play it on Game Boy, you can play it on Game Boy Color, you can play it on Game Boy Advance, you can play it on Switch Online, you can play it on your original cartridge, you can play it in a browser with mouse or with keys on your keyboard. Like, I think, like, at a certain point, as long as you can just play the thing, it's worth it.
Yeah.
But I know, like, because I did the same thing with Blade Runner. I'm picking on you, but I know I did the same thing. And I don't remember which one I watched at this point. And I think maybe that's the point. Is like I got through it. I remember the crux of it. Yeah, okay. It's Harry Ford was a guy. Whatever. But yeah, I think you gotta just whatever you can play. And I think that goes to Mark's point of accessibility. Is like, as long as it's out there and you can get to it. Like Muramasa Rebirth, you can play that on Wii, you can play that on Vita. That's it. That's it. Unless you get into emulation, that's a whole other conversation. But like,
yeah,
you can't play that on a modern platform.
Yeah, I guess that mostly just depends on like what your preferences are, and you know, what are you into with it. Like, if you just care about the core gameplay stuff and you don't care about the visuals or whatever, then sure, you know, that's fine.
I think the big thing too, and to the Blade Runner point, is stop shaming people for how they enjoy their stuff, man. Like, because everyone will tell you that the version of Blade Runner you watched is wrong. Everyone will tell you that if you're not playing this way, like, you know, I got the Mister this year, and I got the Mister after years of like internal torment of like, do I want this? And then like I finally landed on that over one of the analog products. And then like, if I go too far in one direction, everyone tells you the Mister's the worst thing. Actually, I've never seen anybody say the Mister's bad. The Mister's perfect.
I'm saying it, Mister's bad. There you go.
Look, man.
Go on to Reddit right now to post it. r/Mister, right? Why Mister is bad. Fuck.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
and like another weird thing that you just got me thinking about it, and I don't think it gets considered a lot, is that like if you're the type of player that has experienced a game in its original form and then you're playing it today, and, you know, there's going to be a big nostalgia factor that's going to take over, and I think that will help you enjoy most of your time, but hardware does play a part in that. Like, having a specific controller and playing it that one way does affect your experience with the game.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people consider that. Whether you care about it or not, that's up to you, but I think there's something there with that probably should be considered as well. Like if you could translate that well enough too, to like whatever controller that you're playing on.
It has, that with the Mister, like I've made sure that when I'm playing certain things, I've got the 8-bit do M30 to get as close to the Genesis experience as possible. The Mister, the dev behind the PlayStation 1 stuff, that core is coming along right now. So anybody who's been like hearing about the Mister on the periphery and like, that'll be exciting when the PS1 stuff is coming. The PS1 stuff is coming. Like the dude this week has made 7 milestones. Like every day he's like, as soon as we can get here, that's going to be one step closer. And like within 24 hours, he's gotten to that next milestone. It's insane. But point is, I made sure that the USB PlayStation Classic controller that came with that PS1 Classic thing works with the Mister just flawlessly, because it's like, it's important to have that feel with those games too, and kind of go back there.
But that was going to be the anecdote I went into. Like, the PlayStation 1 Classic, that's cool. I like the control. Like, it's cool to have the old school controller. However, Metal Gear Solid, you need a DualShock.
Right.
So, like, that's my conundrum. Like, at some point here in the very near future, I'm just going to get this Metal Gear Solid out of me. So I stop bringing it up on the podcast. I'm just going to drop everything and play it. But my conundrum is, do I then port my DualShock? Like, I have the wireless hookup for that PlayStation 1 thing. Like, do I put my DualShock 4 on it for the DualShock, or for the analog sticks? But like, then that's not the PlayStation 1 controller. That's not, it's the original. Like, there's a little bit of a conundrum there with me. Not as bad as Blade Runner, but like, still, it's there.
It got me thinking with Nintendo, right? Like, they now have the 64 controller you can get, and it's like, I wonder if I can use that with. I mean, not could, but I can probably with the Mario All-Star 3D All-Star collection and play Mario 64 with that controller. But at the same time, I love the Switch Pro controller so much that I don't give a shit about the 64 controller in that regard. Like, I can play...
And that's what's tough, yeah.
Most of those 3D games with that controller just fine. And I'm glad I can switch between that.
Hold on. Wait, are we saying the N64 controller... Are someone trying to say the N64 controller is better than the Pro controller?
No, I was just saying, like, I mean, like, if you want to, like, fully capture that essence of playing Mario 64 like you did way back with that, some people prefer that. I don't know, but I mean,
fair, but okay.
But I just like that.
It's the same thing I would say.
But like, to translate those controls to modern controllers, I love that. I think that's another plus side. Instead of just being full nostalgia, and be like, okay, I only have to play it with this controller. I like that. I prefer the Pro controller. It's just like, this is way more comfortable.
Because then you don't have to worry about it. For those who are kind of interested in the controller side of this and that piece, there was a really cool video this week from My Life in Gaming where they went through all of the officially released Switch controllers. The Switch Online stuff, the N64, the Genesis, even the 6-button Mega Drive pad from Japan, the SNES and the NES. And they played over 200 games on Switch with all of those controllers to see how they worked. And they kind of gave you the like rundown, like, if you like, the neat thing is like there's a bunch of indie games like Celeste and I can't remember now, but all of them like just worked flawlessly with the NES controller, the SNES controller. They were all really good. But then there's other ones that like you'd think, I don't know, like the one test they did was they played the new Monkey Ball release with the N64 controller, and it was actually really good because of the like analog sticks, like hard feedback. That was a fun one. Yeah, check that out on youtube.com.
That's a good kind of work people put in.
Yeah, so I don't know, there's times now where I feel like I would rather play on original hardware, but there's times where I like, the neat thing is like I've been playing Oddworld Munch's Odyssey this week, and as I'm playing it, part of me is like, man, this stinks, I'm not getting achievements for playing this, right? If I had played it on PS3 or Vita, I would have gotten trophies for this. But I'm playing the recently made backwards compatible Xbox version, which again, if I had the disc, I could just pop the disc in. But there's part of me where I'm like, I am playing, it's 4:3 on a 16:9 screen, so it's black bars on the side. And then I've got the CRT next to that, and I'm like, should I go buy an Xbox and plug this game in and have I go back and forth on what makes more sense. Part of me is like, maybe I should figure out a way to plug the Xbox Series X into the CRT and see what that looks like. That could be a hot, fun mess, but it is convenient because I can like easily just save the game, back out, jump to another thing. You know what I mean? Jump back into Sonic and All Stars or something.
Yeah.
And it's like original hardware is great and is good, but there's a lot of maintenance and upkeep with that stuff as well. That's like, yeah, if I can just play this on the new Xbox, I'm already in that input. I already have that controller in my hand. Like, why not? I think that helps. We had another news story from 10 years ago, but I think this is a good point to take a quick little break. Now, when we come back, we'll do one more news story from a decade ago, talk a little bit about Halo, and then call it a show. Be right back after this. Welcome back to the final round of the show. One more news story from 10 years ago that I thought was interesting is, I believe it was originally reported on Eurogamer, and that's the story I'm pulling from. The question asked in the title of this article is, what is Superbot's very amazing PlayStation 3 exclusive? The console manufacturer, of course, told Eurogamer, we do not comment on rumor or speculation, when Sony had been asked about the game. Word of the mystery brawler first emerged on the Paul Gale network. Matt, do you remember the Paul Gale network from way back in the day?
No, I don't.
I remember this is the only time I'd ever heard of the Paul Gale network popping up on, was being quoted on many a podcast and thing at the time, because the Paul Gale network claimed that this game developed by Superbot Entertainment would be a Smash Brothers rival featuring a number of Sony mascots, including Parappa the Rapper, Kratos, Sly Cooper, Nathan Drake, Sweet Tooth, Colonel Raddock from Killzone, and Fat Princess. The report also mentioned a Sandover Village stage from Jak and Daxter, Hot Shots golf characters and stage backgrounds, a Little Big Planet stage, and a Buzz trivia minigame. A James Bond character is also mentioned. Current speculation points to Superbot Entertainment, a Culver City, California-based studio, confirmed to be working on a, quote, very amazing PS3 game for Sony Computer Entertainment America as the developer of the game. Yeah, this also kind of quickly spun up, and then we started to see I remember there was a screenshot of Sweet Tooth holding Sweet Tooth's own mouth, pointing and laughing, with the checkerboard background, like a Street Fighter training area behind him. And yeah, I mean, this was November 25th, 2011, and we would quickly learn at some point thereafter about PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. The true original Battle Royale. What was your guys' experience with that game? Did you guys play it at the time that it came out?
I didn't get to play until years later in college, and when I did play it, it was maybe an hour or two. I played it more with you, Joe, specifically, but still, it's not that much time I put into that game.
Mark?
I am in the same boat. Except I don't think you and I played it together. But I tried very little of that and just couldn't find the groove.
Well, I know what we're doing next time we hang out. I have 2 platinum trophies for PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, one on the Vita and one on the PS3. Sorry, I don't like to brag, but it's just a testament to how much I loved that game. And I think it's a shame that it never got another chance. I mean, especially today, we've got Multiversus out or coming out. We've got that Nickelodeon All-Stars Toon Brawl. There's been a couple of these at this point that...
The Warner Brother one?
That's Multiversus, is the...
Right, oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know. It's a shame that like Sony does have a really good, strong legacy that I still, and this goes like outside of just making Smash Brothers clones, but I think that Sony does have so many strong characters, and it's a shame that we don't get to see them in more things like this, right? I thought this was a really cool celebration of PlayStation to an extent. It probably, with a little bit more budget and time, could have had a little bit more of that. There were some things that I'm sure, like Nintendo and Sakurai have gone through with Smash Brothers as well, that happened with this, where like we got a Metal Gear representation, but it was Raiden, right? We got Devil May Cry representation, but it was the 2013 DMC game, Dante. Stuff like that, where like you can tell that like marketing got in the way of what companies were able to or offering to put in this game. Where I feel like today, if a game like this were made, you wouldn't have that same. You probably would, right? But I think that people are more open. Companies are more open to like, yeah, let's do this. Let's put the legacy out there. Let's whatever. It was like notably, I think, missing Crash and Spyro and Cloud, like people would have wanted, but it did bring a lot of characters to life that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to play as. Like, you know, playing as Fat Princess was fun, and you didn't get to do that in the core Fat Princess game. You get to play as all the little soldiers and minions and stuff. Playing as Sweet Tooth outside of the truck was, you know, pretty cool. And something you, again, didn't do anywhere else. And one thing it did, I thought, really well was the stage mashups and the stage changeovers, where you're playing the example that they first showed off when they showed the game was you're playing a God of War stage where Hades is in the background like punching you, and then there's little Patapon running along and being Patapon in the background. That was a really neat thing, and they would continue to do that where, you know, granted there was a BioShock stage that crossed over with Twisted Metal, which that was kind of weird, but like it was BioShock Infinite with Twisted Metal too. So yeah, I thought those were neat, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think that. What do you think that game's legacy is? I don't think there's much, but what do you guys think?
PlayStation's attempt at Smash Bros. That would be forever's legacy, no matter how different it is from Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
If they try to make it another one, I don't know if it would even acknowledge this one at all. Like, mechanics-wise or what have you. I think this might be just a self-contained thing.
It's called PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Not even a year at the end of it, just totally erase the other one. Overwrite.
Yeah. No, I think that was the thing that this got a lot of flack for, was the scoring system, right? Like, you couldn't just knock your opponent off the stage like you do in Smash Brothers. You had to hit them with a special that killed them. So you were doing your regular standard attacks to build that meter, and then you had 3 levels of the meter. 3 was usually a stage wipe. If you know, that was like the equivalent of a final smash. Your level 2 super was pretty strong in most cases and would wipe out multiple enemies. And if you were lucky, you could even pull that off with a level 1 super. You could kill a couple people in one. But yeah, people gave that a lot of flack because it was not Smash Brothers. But again, to go back to the like talking about what things are, I thought that was a pretty cool system that like encouraged you to try out different combos. And, you know, I remember getting really good with Cole from Infamous, like mashing together different combos and building the meter and knowing exactly where to place myself against the enemies and the opponents. And it's a fun game. If they did make another one, who's your number one character you'd want to see or play as?
I think Leviathan Axe Kratos would be cool with the throw and grab mechanic. I think there's some cool things you could do there. That loop in his punching abilities as well when he's axeless.
I mean, I feel like Kratos would just be like the front of the box, like center on the art for sure. He would be the selling point of that game.
Yeah.
Aloy riding around in a robo.
True.
Bow and arrow.
Is it bad that I don't know
sports
like
champions
many...
representation?
What'd you say? Sorry.
Mark.
Joe.
I was making a sports champions reference. PlayStation Move, shout out.
Why not?
Yeah, you know what? Let's just for this game, let's bring in the Mii Fighter equivalent, and you can make an avatar from PlayStation Home. Just for this game.
I would love that. I would love that. It's a part of PlayStation's history, man. They should. They should totally do it.
No, you should have
mascot. What's the mascot's name? Wasn't it the Japanese mascot?
You talking about Toro?
Yeah.
The cat?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in there.
That's what I'm saying. He's in there. Why not just do...
Bring in the Pomeranian from Tokyo Jungle.
Oh my god.
Now we're
Now,
talking.
talk about a game that needs a Switch port.
All right. Well, okay. You just gave me another idea for season 10.
I still need to play that.
Yeah, actually, if one of you guys could put...
Yeah, I got you, don't worry.
Yeah, side note. Thank you.
I don't know how you could get the Last Guardian to be a playable character, but if you could somehow...
Yeah.
That'd be a good
Hey, they made
stage,
Ridley work.
though, where like the dog comes and knocks you off or whatever. Or
like the
cat.
kid is kind of like a bear with me when I say this. The kid is kind of like a Bayonetta, except the kid isn't. The kid isn't like all
Harry?
sexy fighting, whatever, but can do like commands and then from the side, like how she has like those vorpal portals and like a demon fist comes through like a giant foot. Maybe this could be like Trico kind of like stomping in or like taking a shit on somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think that my gut reaction to that was to say he should be more like Pokemon trainer, but no, because it wouldn't be. No, but it wouldn't be integral to that game because that game was so much about you playing as that character and working with Trico to. So I think you'd need to have the kid be in danger during these fights.
Yeah, like you throw a barrel and then Trico wants to go eat it, but attacks whoever is in his way.
Yeah. You kind of get like Nintendog's assist trophy and Bayonetta all in one character. Yeah, I think that's good. I don't know. They should make a car from Wipeout playable. That would be a fun one. No, I don't know, man. There's a lot of PlayStation stuff they could do. I would like to see the Patapon make a return as playable characters this time.
As far as stages, I would love to see a Nightmare Mensa stage.
Yeah,
I had to take cover away from the frenzy.
Yeah.
I don't know what you combine that with, but
medieval maybe, or I don't know, Blasto.
Sure.
Shout out Phil Hartman.
Should have the PS2 boot up be a level. Just
have
fighting on cubes.
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yes.
For PS1, you're playing in the CD player.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
or like in a memory card.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
You get Konami to pitch in and have Psycho Mantis reach out and yell at you through the stage. That's
he's the announcer.
Yeah. Wild times 10 years ago. Maybe one day we'll get there again. All right, it is time. We're gonna end this show with some talk about Halo Infinite, which we've all been continuing to play. I had an interesting evening the other night with Halo Infinite. I've provided some screenshots for Matt and Mark to review here, and I'll refer to them in a moment. It was insane. It was the most buggy, weird match I've ever had, and I think a majority of it was because of... I thought it was my own internet, but Matt and I had played that night a little bit, and you were running into a little bit early on, and then I had jumped on later on alone, and I popped a double XP thing from my Rockstar Energy can, jumped in for what I thought would be an hour, and in that hour I got two matches completed. After I did this one big team battle, I did end up having another one. But this match lasted forever. We had horrible connection. Every single player was rubber banding, so you just kept seeing people just like teleporting through the map all over the place. This went on for 43 minutes. It was a seed collection game. You got to get the seeds, bring them back to your base, and whatever. At one point, there was a warthog hanging out of a rock, like the sides of rocks, and someone mounted in the gun just shooting from there, and they're like tilted down and angled weird. There's people that are spawning mid-air and falling from the sky. There's things where like you're going to collect a seed and all of a sudden you're just dead. I don't know what happened. You're just something killed you. Someone killed you. Didn't even know what it was. We go back and forth with just this kind of weird glitchy mess for a while. For like however long, what's that game length? 15 minutes or something? Like what's the big team battles average? 12 minutes?
I think it depends on the mode, but somewhere around there, yeah.
We get to sudden death. Right? And so it's evened up. At this point, next team that scores wins the game. It doesn't end because we just keep going. So in the game mode where the seeds are coming down, For people who are unfamiliar, seeds spawn at random spots on the map throughout this, and you have to go collect 5 seeds, bring them back, and deposit them in your base. And you can go to the opposing team's base and steal any seeds that have been planted, so long as they haven't hit their 5 to get them the point for the round. These seeds were spawning, and once we got to sudden death, the seeds that spawned in... We were in the map that has the kind of that center base. And you know what I mean? Where everybody kind of like runs through the middle of it. Yeah, they spawned at the top of that you can't actually access unless you have like... you could fly up there maybe, I guess, but like they were like you could look on the map and they were just stuck up in the middle of the sky. They would not come down. So at this point in sudden death, the only way for either team to win is to make sure, because we had 4 deposited and they had 2 deposited. So we had to steal from the other in order to win. I kept kind of running in. I'd steal a seed, I'd run it back, I'd deposit it, I'd get us to 4, and then all of a sudden just chaos would happen. They would come and steal 2 back and whatever. Again, these things are stuck 100 feet in the air, so we can't do anything. There's just random explosions that are happening. There's, like, at one point, like, I grappled, but I don't know what happened. Like, there's just stuff, everyone is just flying all over the place. Like, again, like, just jittery nightmares for 45 minutes. At one point, I leaned, like, forward, like, because we were so close, and I don't know where this came from. I wasn't thinking it, but it just came out of me. I just screamed at the top of my lungs, just get in the pit and try to love someone. And then all of the counters are going off. Like, it keeps going and shouting at us, like, your team needs 1 more to win. And I look and we have 3. We're not 1 more to win. And then it says the enemy team is approaching victory. And like, they're not approaching. They have no seeds deposited. It just insane. We get to the final end of the match. And in the top right, it says, I don't even remember who the heck won. I think we won because we got the final thing. If you look at the final score, it says Team Cobra 2, Eagle 1. But in the top right, it says winner Cobra, your team Eagle, and I'm clearly on Team Cobra. And then...
To be fair to Halo Infinite, that's been broken.
No, I know that.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't just for this match, but it was just like, that was the first time I had noticed it, and I've seen it since then, but it was like, what is happening? I had 40 deaths. Like, it lasted forever. It was, I saved the whole replay. I don't think I'll ever watch it, but I saved it. It just, like, insanity. I've never, like, had an experience like that in this game, or any, really. Like, just the weird, buggy glitches, jumping all over the place, the fact that the speed, because it should be pretty quick. The seeds spawn in the middle, you go grab the seeds, somebody's going to win at some point, but they were stuck mid-air, so no other new seeds would spawn. Like, there was at one point, I don't know, the Warthog thing was just nuts. The whole thing was insane. Have you guys run into anything that buggy or weird in this game yet?
Not here. No, but I give you credit, because I would have been long gone 3 minutes in.
I had to see it through. And once I screamed Kid Rock lyrics, like, unconsciously, that was, like, where
I think you broke me with that, because I think...
The point of no return, right?
Dude, I don't...
Like, I'm going to scream that while driving if I get road rage. Like, that's what I'm going to, like, resort to.
It just came out of me. I don't know where it came from. No one was home. No, I wasn't on mic with you guys trying to impress somebody. It just came out of my body. And now that it's out, so I've updated my clan tag to ball with the ball. And
as you should.
Yeah.
So what? All that was for 50 XP?
Yeah, because it actually was before the changes happened, where you get whatever.
Yeah, just like seeing how many people quit and joined your side.
Yeah,
versus the other side, which nobody quit. Right? Is that what I'm saying?
That's big team battle. The list should be that long.
But the other side too, I'm scrolled down a little bit because I wanted to make sure that I was on that team.
Because I've seen that happen too, though, where like
yes,
it's just a history and people just fucking leave during the match, like fuck it, whatever.
And then you get 343 Sparta running around, who's absolutely fucking useless.
And like 343 Bob or something.
He won oddball for my team last night.
Okay.
But this is reminding me of like early like Halo 2. Well, I guess all of Halo 2, honestly, because they didn't patch much. Where like if you were the cool kid with the best internet, you could like unplug your LAN from your router real quick, plug it back in. Everyone else is taking a while to load. You get to kill them while they're loading.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you are, like as soon as you boot up, you're dead. And that just
It felt
keeps
like
happening.
Those
It's
damn dedicated servers.
Yeah.
They took away our thing.
It felt like that. It felt like Vegeta, like everybody was Vegeta. Just like zip lining around there. Not literally zip lining, but yeah, I gotta go back and review that footage. It was a wild time. It hasn't been that bad since, but yeah. Halo's still going good. They did announce some changes to XP stuff, so you can get more XP. But I've kind of settled into like I'm still popping the double XP as long as I have the code from Rockstar Energy cans. But you know, those challenges are an afterthought for me. I went back to Halo Master Chief Collection just to see like, does this still feel good? And like, it still feels real good. It's slower, but it's not as slow as I remembered it being. And I don't know. I had a good time. I did another big team battle in there where we had to, it was kind of like there's 5 zones. You have to capture each zone. And the other, like randomly around the map, and the other team has to stop you from doing that. It was good. I mean, the thing that, like anything, because I turned off like open mic chat on Infinite because I told Matt the other night because Matt and I were playing. And he was like, "Do you hear this guy?" Like, what? I don't know what he was even saying, but I was like, "No, I turned it off because like the first or second night I played, some guy was just listening to a podcast into his microphone the entire time, and I didn't want to keep hearing it, so I just kill that."
Oh, man.
But yeah,
some things never change.
No, and that's going back to it. There, it still was there. You go back to old Quake, it's still people doing the same stuff.
I love that that's coming back around for you guys, because in the last like 2 years playing Warzone and specifically Search and Destroy Modern Warfare, man, that stuff's still there.
Yeah, it feels good to be back. There's times where I'm like,
it's part of the experience, man. That's why online interactions aren't rated about ESRB.
Correct. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but anecdotally, I've been reading people saying that they've been getting messages mad about being teabagged. It's a whole new generation of kids who don't understand what that is, and it's really funny. Like, I thought about it this week, where this game, or Halo, now is 20 years old, and there's all of these people that are complaining, myself included, that I feel like we've been around long enough, and we're like, now we're just the old men, like crying, screaming at the cloud, or whatever the stupid Simpsons thing is.
Oh man yells at cloud.
Where these new kids are like, no, this is how video games are. What are you talking about? I mean, they're not, because they're also mad about the progression, but yeah.
It's funny because I was just about to say, I'm glad that like, as far as Halo's come, that part has never changed, or like hasn't been acknowledged. Like, there's no like there's no achievement for it. There's no like revenge teabagging achievement or something like that. It's just like it's a personal quest that you can choose to take on or not.
Yep.
But yeah, it's
part
like
of the game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird gray area still with video games, is the online interaction stuff. Because even if you were to like get rid of that behavior somehow, you're gonna find another way to do something else.
Of course,
they can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to the top. Everybody wants to do. I want to get teabagged by Phil Spencer. Like that's
I want to teabag Phil Spencer.
That I'm living. I want to teabag Phil Spencer,
and I want him to do it back to me. I just want to trade teabag.
It's same because 360 days. I was asking for it because I had a gamer tag named Balls of Steel.
Yep. Yeah, you were
and
prime target number 1.
Had to change it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's like.
Speaking of changes, the Los Angeles Lakers made some changes this week, Matt. You want to tell the kids at home what they missed out on?
Yeah, evidently, I guess this would have been Friday. You missed your chance to go to the Staples Center, which will soon be the Crypto.com arena, and buy yourself a nice Lakers Halo Chief crossover collaboration starting at 1:17 p.m. on that Friday. You could have gotten yourself one nice Master Chief figurine, a the Xbox controller, an Xbox Series whatever controller with purple and yellow branding for the Lakers. It looks like it's in the design of a basketball in purple and yellow. And then one Lakers jersey that has the number 117 on it with the name on the back stating Master Chef.
I thought his name was like John Halo.
Yeah,
that's what should have been on it.
John Metroid. The jersey's kind of hot. Mostly because you don't really see jerseys that go into the hundreds, so I kind of like that. It is such a weird
I would get it for the
collaboration.
jersey. I think that controller is ugly. And I
It's
like
ugly,
the
but
Lakers
it's a
colors
Lakers logo.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't...
I'd rather buy the Forza controller.
Oh, that one I did not like that one.
What is Bibigo?
Who?
What's that sponsor on the front of the jersey?
Oh, let me see.
The Nike and then
I think
I don't know what that one is.
turned it. Yeah, there we go.
Sorry.
I think I did that.
if anything,
No,
you
I
fixed it.
just did it.
That's how you make it cool.
Yeah, I don't know what Bibigo is. They might be like the jersey manufacturer or something.
I just thought they would have put like UNSC logo or something on the front, or
Right.
something a little more than just the number and then just saying Master Chief. Like I thought.
Nope, not the jersey manufacturer. I didn't know that, but nope, it is.
You need the
Here we
NBA
go.
logo on like
Share
3 parts of it.
Korean flavor.
Oh,
It is a Korean grocery thing. You can get dumplings from them to heat up. You can get some sauces like your spicy barbecue sauces or your hot and sweet sauces. You can get wontons, specifically. Oh, sorry, Korean style mini wontons, chicken and vegetable dumplings. Seems like you can put them in the microwave for 2 minutes or in a pan for 5. Crisp them up.
John Halo approves.
so these are these in store? Yes. Okay. This is just like frozen food. Got
Yeah.
it. Never mind.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like order from this place or whatever, but yeah. Okay. I see.
It's probably more exclusive to the West Coast, if I had to guess, because I've never seen anything like this.
It's kind of like automatically looking in my location, and it says there's some at the CVS up the street.
That's okay.
Also at
I was
Safeway.
not expecting CVS, but okay.
Target apparently has this.
Okay. All right.
I have a
gotta keep my eye out.
question. So, if you look in the Halo Infinite shop, right, right now you can get like any of the esports teams, like colors for your Spartan. Do you think this will go the other way and get like NBA themed Spartan colors or like NFL or?
I hope so. Not because I'm super hot, super big sports guy, but because I think that there's some good color combinations that happen in sports, and I would rather wear that than whatever the weird.
And it has the their logo on it or whatever.
Oh, that part
You're gonna get the logo, unfortunately.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, if they do the Ravens one justice with purple, that gold trim, but the visor red because the Raven emblem is red, or the eye in the Raven logo is red. Hot stuff. I will buy that. Also,
How
buy
much
an
would you
Orzo.
pay for that?
Okay, all right. $10 for the armor. If they bundled it to allow my guns to change to those colors, 15. If they gave me the whole shebang for the vehicles as well, 20. And if you threw in a couple extra emblems to allow me to put Ravens as my avatar or whatever, 25.
Interesting. What if, follow me here, I was just playing Roger Clemens MVP baseball for the Sega Genesis. What if instead of the Baltimore Ravens, you got the same color scheme, but they couldn't get the rights to the name, and you got the Baltimore Eagles. I guess in that case it was the Orioles, not the Ravens, but yeah.
I just, in that case, just released the color palette for the armor.
Yeah.
And everything else. Honestly, I think the armor palette sets are suffering. I want more color palettes on the armor.
Well, it stinks because once you get a cool one, you're like, oh, everyone's got that one. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel... I don't feel like I can customize the way I'd want to.
Yeah, everyone's rocking
But then again, I went...
Obviously, everyone's rocking that gold visor that they got for free. I'm using that red one. I think the red one looks hot.
Yeah, I swapped back to like a green one or something I have, but I also went going back to Master Chief Collection. I was just blue, or I was red. You know, like so I complain about this stuff, but at the same time, like when you're playing, you're playing. You know. Well, that's it on Halo crossovers, right? I mean, they kind of stopped and ended with the Lakers stuff that you probably can't buy anymore, right, Matt?
What if you can get a crystal skull, not to be confused with the vodka, but with one crossover with the jeweler Swarovski?
Swarovski.
Oh, yeah.
I do it too. I honestly, in my head, I've been reading
times I've walked by that store going to a job, and I've never realized how that's spelled.
Until right now, I'm looking at it with you and learning together. Swarovski.
I've never heard of this.
It's one of those things. It's like when I tried to read Mark's last name for the first 3 years I knew him. Your brain just fills in what you think it is, and then you say it, and then you actually, yeah. How much are these things, though? These crystals, it can't be cheap. But you can get one in the shape of Master Chief's helmet or one in the shape of the sword.
Oh, this is not the first time they've done this.
Oh, gross.
Oh, you're going to like this one. Hold on.
Wait, are they, wearable?
I know. No, they're just statues, I think. Crystals?
Yeah, you put them in your curio cabinet,
crystals.
Dude.
This is going to play with audio, but I'm going to send you all a fun one that I just found. I will then announce it on air after I hear your all surprises. But yeah, no, this is definitely not the first time they've done it, evidently. They've done this quite a few times, and now Halo is the latest in the Swarovski crystal collections.
Oh, wow, this is something, Matt.
Yes, that is one fine Batman crystal
made
statue.
Of crystal. If you scroll down on this page, you can see it rotating in full 3D. That's pretty good.
Go further,
it's only $495 too.
Only. Did it let you at least AR it and put it on, see where you can put on your desk, see the sizing?
No.
Damn.
No. But yeah, no, Mark, you're right. Actually, the Batmobile is much better.
Oh, I didn't even see the Batmobile. I saw Baby Yoda. I saw an AT-AT. And I saw this Batman. I chose the Batman to send you all.
I want to be mad at them for using the words Baby Yoda because that's not the character's name, but they threw in the other they actually threw in the name in there as well. So I was like, all right, I get it. You're just trying to grab an audience. You gotta hit all the
you gotta get what people are, because there's someone who collects all of these Swarovski crystals, and they're gonna type in the words.
Yeah,
Baby Crystal Yoda.
Look, mom and dad out there buying these crystals for their kids, they're not going to know to look for the child. They have to look up Baby Yoda.
Right. They don't know to search Gogurt. Whatever his name is.
I would genuinely like to see the numbers on these things. How much do these actually move? How many people buy these? It's got to be enough if someone internal to Microsoft spoke to someone internal at Swarovski and said, yeah, this seems like a good idea. Let's do it.
How insulted would you be if you got the Swarovski Star Wars Ewok Wicket as a present?
We'll see how quick you can destroy it.
Yeah, mostly that thing is $215 from what I'm seeing here, which is too many dollars to spend on something to sit in on a. I don't know. I'm moving away from knickknacks. I hate to tell you, Matt, but I think a lot of these amiibo
gone. Trash. Here,
Not-
when you have the burn-in ceremony, I want to attend, and I will light the match for you.
No, I don't want to necessarily throw them away because I still pick them up, put them on a Switch controller to get a hat. In
What? You
Monster
pick them
Hunter.
up, go off the top of their head, and then put them right back?
No, don't be crazy. I haven't dusted those things in years. No, but I'm just like looking around at like the little things that I've got propped up, and I'm like, I don't need this. I can put this away. This has to go. Like this whole corner of this desk is just like just little statues and that's I don't know.
And a Christmas
But
tree.
you know, look like
A Christmas tree has been there all year.
I do. Yeah, I do have that. There's some things I'm like, I should keep that, but then I don't know. It became clutter. Maybe I need to declutter. That's the goal. And I won't be doing that with the Swarovski Star Wars Ewok Wicket.
I can't do it right now. We're a little crammed in the one-bedroom apartment. But, you know, when the horizons expand at some point for me, hopefully sooner rather than later, bring all the knickknacks. Give me all these Swarovskis in the world. I just want a shelf full of crystals. That's its own multiverse right there. The Swarovski All-Stars Battle Royale.
This website you sent is also, it's not just Swarovski, it's all of these other companies what sell crystals.
Oh, because I sent the Xbox link. The newsletter link. Forgot.
Well, the one you sent for the Batman thing. This is from a website that sells just all sorts of crystal things.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's our show for the week. Thank you for coming. Thank you for hanging out. Come back next week. We've got, we're going to talk about the things that have changed since unifying architecture has been underlying the technology of our modern consoles. We're going to wrap up our game of the year 30-week adventure. Probably talk more about Halo. Just saying. More than likely.
Yeah, we'll probably
Between now
comment
and
on the
then.
progression changes next week.
Yeah, maybe they'll have a play. Actually, that campaign scout. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, we'll
Hey,
talk
remember
about
Halo 5? No.
Yeah, no, the good part's coming. So I'm very excited to jump in. I assume y'all are getting into that this week as well?
Nah, of course not.
Nah, just skipping it.
Yeah, I'm going to play Metal Gear instead.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I did just buy Oddworld yesterday, and I'm like, do I have time? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Mark, what are you getting into this week?
So I jumped into Aria of Sorrow earlier in the week, and within like one sitting, I got 50% of the map done.
Yes.
So I think I'm just gonna try to ride that out and hopefully not break momentum because the clock tower almost did that.
Yeah, every one of those old games just has like one section where you're like, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yep, just navigating, and then like you realize that like trying to find a save room or like a warp point, they're actually a lot further than you realize, and it's like, you know what? Like Dracula's a dick, but
Yep.
Well, specifically is Medusa.
Yeah.
it's all of it. Honestly, it's all. Yes, they're like the one that just like puts you right over the edge, but the combination of like how do you have enemies there and everything's a trap. Going up or down, it's like spikes and then crumbling floor and then the mannequins and the Valkyrie. Just but the rest of it, I enjoy. So, and thank God for save states. Just I don't know what I was save scumming the crap out of some boss fights, but
Sometimes you have to.
yeah. But you know, probably finish that up. Prep myself for Halo.
Yeah.
The old Johnny boy.
Yeah, buddy. Matt, what are you getting into besides, I mean, Halo's the Halo.
Probably Halo. It might be a light video game week for me. I probably should just watch Blade Runner, just commit to that. I've been trying to commit to that for like 3 months now. Also, rewatching The Matrix. Started the first 40 minutes of the first one yesterday. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. And then
They're all like
hopefully
totally
the
different.
sequels are better than I remember. That's all I'm hoping for. I'm hoping. I'm hoping, Mark.
I never watched them, so I don't. I only watched the first one.
You'll probably enjoy Reloaded more than.
I remember it as a kid before, like, learning about how to plot, how plot works in movies, and paying attention to it. I think I liked Reloaded. I think it was my second view, and I was like, eh.
Also, Animatrix is pretty good.
I never watched that. I think it's on HBO Max. I know the trilogy's there, obviously, but yeah, no, I should find that because I do want to watch that. I've heard nothing but good things.
Not bad. Yeah, it's. I've been primarily on the Xbox. I still have been chipping away at Shin Megami Tensei here and there, playing little bits. I made some good progress the other week. But it's been a lot of Oddworld. It's been a lot of Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, because that got that FPS boost and all that fun stuff added to it. And then, yeah, on a whim last night, I was like, yeah, I'll buy the new Oddworld. Why not? Don't have time to play it, but I'm going to buy it. So I don't know. I might try that out because it looks very pretty. So we'll see. Other than that, I'll be out there teabagging Phil Spencer, buying my crystal helmet. I'm just gonna say
ski.
Crystal helmet. That's what I'm going with. Outside of that, you can follow us all on Twitter. The Free Cheese is at Some Free Cheese. Mark is at _mental. Matt at MattyIce131. Got a couple more weeks to the end of the year. We just for the listener, if you're hanging out at this point, you're one of the real ones. So we can tell you that we met last week, talk about next year's plans for the podcast. Got some fun things planned. Some very fun things planned. We're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to you.
A little preview, Tokyo Jungle, coming to you 2022.
Stay tuned. We'll announce all that stuff probably about a month from now. Roughly, maybe, something. Once we get through our prediction show and our Game of the Year stuff, we'll talk about what's next. Until then, if you like this episode, you're excited for more, you should tell your friends about us. Podcast@thefreecheese.com is the email address. We love you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Bye.